A well-balanced game is a better game design, but sometimes worse game designs make for better games. I wasn't planning to do this particular video this week. I just played a second stint of 2 hours trying to beat the same scenario in the Lord of the Rings the card game. I was playing the Weather Hills. I was going to continue my deck tuning series. People like that series, right? And I was going to explain how I adjust a deck as I try to beat a quest. Well, I started off with the deck that I didn't think was necessarily going to be very good. It was a Gondor deck. It's like a rally deck. And I lost, which was understandable. I was supposed to lose. And then I lost again. And then I made changes. I keep getting stomped. The Weather Hills is a quest where there are a lot of mechanisms in this quest that punish single player. In the first stage of the quest, the first weather card you draw every turn gets Surge, which means you draw another card, which means if you're playing single player, you're drawing very often 2 encounter cards. And normally when you play the game, you're drawing 1 per player. If you're playing with 2 or 3 players, you're usually not going to be doubling the encounter cards as often as you are playing single player. To complete the first stage of the quest, you need to defeat enough orc enemies for the number of players you have plus 3. So if you're playing with 1 player, you have to do 4. If you're playing with 2, you only have to do 5. That's a lot easier to do. I don't think I'm going to be able to record myself doing all the attempts that I'm trying to do here. I'm already over 3 hours of footage, and there's a lot of angry film in there. Oh, no! Should be enough. No. Oh, Surge again. Come on. Oh. But I realized after this that, 1, there's no way I was going to get that done this week. But 2, this is part of what makes the Lord of the Rings the card game a good game. It is not so perfectly balanced that you always are aware that you're playing a game. Let me explain. If you've played video games, you recognize this feeling. You reach an area of a level where you know enemies are going to pop up. You've played enough games that you know. It breaks the immersion of a video game when that happens. It's like you see through and you see the design. You're a little bit like Neo in the Matrix. You start to see the programming. Part of the fun of games is immersion and believing that you're in a world. So a game that's unlike things you've played before is going to be more fun, but it won't go by the same beats. You won't always get enemies where you expect them. The Lord of the card game was designed in 2011. A lot of the early quests, you would have situations where certain cards you'll draw out of the encounter deck will just destroy you. You know, Sleeping Sentry being maybe the worst offender of this type. To be honest, yeah, it's not always fun. You know, you don't want to play a quest that's just unbeatable. You want to play a game that your decisions don't matter, where it's just completely random whether or not you win. Glaurung, who has done a lot of plays of Lord of the Rings the card game and has fallen out of love with the game, it appears, has commented on my videos before saying that he doesn't think Lord of the Rings card game is a good game. And if I understand his point, it's because you'll have these situations where, for example, if you can just get past the hump like early in a quest, then you'll be a cruise to the end. And games like he brings up War of the Ring the card game, that isn't the case. I actually haven't played War of the Ring the card game, so I can't comment on that game. Makes sense. You want to keep the players engaged. But here's the thing. If the quest is set up that, you know, no matter how well you do in the beginning, you are never going to cruise to the end because the game is going to throw stuff at you to make it interesting, it does remind you that you're playing a game. Pandemic Legacy Season 1, I think, was a better game than Pandemic Legacy Season 0. Not just because it came first and everyone was having playing Legacy games for the first time when they played Season 1. There was a real risk in Pandemic Legacy Season 1 that if you lost, you were screwed. Whereas in Pandemic Legacy Season 3, it's Season 0, they balanced the game and put enough mechanisms in place where you couldn't quite lose that badly. Yes, obviously, it sucks when you play a game and lose so hard that you don't even get to fully experience it. But man, surviving is so much more fun when that was a real threat. Robo Rally, if you have holes in a map and you can fall into a hole and you're out of the race, yeah, sure, now you're bored for the next, 45 minutes when everyone's playing Robo Rally. Richard Garfield changed Robo Rally to get rid of player elimination and instead have it where it gets harder, like you start getting spam in your controls in the newer Robo Rally. Feels like they're insulting your intelligence a little bit. It's like, yeah, I know I'm gonna lose. Just kill me already. Jeez. Kill me. It's fun to accomplish certain types of tasks. Sometimes these tasks are around you in your daily life. Sometimes these tasks are given to you in a box. But if you give someone a box that says, in this box is a task that will engage you no matter what no longer feels like a task and more so feels like something to busy yourself with. I can't help but think about the Jerry Smith daycare in Rick and Morty. Before Rick and Morty go off exploring in space, they drop off Jerry in a Jerry daycare, which is a daycare for Jerrys across, different dimensions. At first, Jerry is kind of offended that he's dropped in a daycare because he can't handle himself going on space missions with, Rick and Morty. So he gets distracted enough to start having fun at the daycare by trying to fix the TV. And that's actually, I think, when you have the most fun is when you kind of forget that what you're doing is inconsequential beyond the table. And that's the case with almost every scenario in Lord of the Rings, the card game, is that it feels more real. Each quest is its own thing, and the fun of the game is to do the thing. It's not like the quests are designed there just to keep your attention. Maybe the best example here is the idea of a catch-up mechanism. Catch-up mechanisms are probably more famous in video games for games like Mario Kart, where you get better power-ups the farther back in the field you are. But as a result, it's not always the fastest racer that wins. And sometimes you may want to intentionally do poorly to try and get the catch-up mechanism to get the better power-ups. If you get to games where people will really dig into them, and you can even lump sports into this category too, whether it's lifestyle games or sports or otherwise, catch-up mechanisms are not as common because it detracts from the rewards of doing well. Now, in some games, you do have a runaway leader problem, and that's one of the reasons why Monopoly is generally considered to be a bad game. I think a game like Monopoly would be made better if it had a catch-up mechanism. For me, at least, catch-up mechanisms are ways to make games less bad, not make games more good. How much of a catch-up mechanism, how much of a catch-up mechanism you actually want to put into a game is a matter of taste. And the reason why I want to make sure to make this video today is because I think the voice is calling for things like catch-up mechanisms or to keep games balanced throughout. Those voices are pretty dominant within board gaming, at least within the board game geek enthusiast category of board gaming. And there's really something to be said for making games that are more raw. These games have a higher potential to create thematic storytelling moments. It's going to really feel like a conquest when I actually beat the Weather Hills with this random Gondor deck, if I beat it. If this quest were more balanced, I would have won it by now, realistically. But because I haven't won it, I now have a challenge that I feel compelled to beat. I remember the first time I played the Morgul Vale adventure pack. I did it solo, and it took me so many times to beat Murzog. And it's not because he was a well-balanced enemy for this. He was not. But that was the point. I eventually got him. Take that, Murzog, and your dumb axe that you're yelling at. Game balance can make a game a better game. But just because it's a better game doesn't mean it's a better experience. Maybe I'm making this video too because I'm becoming more aware, and we should all be becoming more aware about areas where things are just there to get your attention. I'd rather watch something do the thing as opposed to watch it because it's been designed for me to like it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments of what you think about this. I'm, again, recording this after playing like several hours of the same quest and continuing to lose. If you do want to see me do playthroughs, I am recording some playthroughs, so be sure to subscribe for more of the Lord of the Rings card game content and for all things board games. But thanks for watching this video. Happy to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Keep playing.